Hey everyone, and welcome to another segment of my Insight to Action interview series. I'm happy to be joined today by Jessica David, who's going to come on and share some good insight here in just a moment. You'll see the information about TalkShop. If you'd like to reach out to me to learn more about the programs that I offer here, please. I would enjoy the opportunity to chat with you at any time. But I want to bring Jessica in because, as I normally do on these interviews, is I bring on industry professionals. I've also recently brought on college students. But today, for the first time, and I'm excited to have Jessica on, I'm bringing on someone that's got the recruiting, the staffing background. What better person to give some insight to college students and grads than a recruiter? So, Jessica, that being said, first of all, thanks for taking the time and sharing some of your personal insight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Matt. It's a joy to be here.
So let's do this. Let's roll, and let's just have you introduce yourself in a way, and just to kind of what you're doing currently, what your role, and who you're doing it with, and then we'll kind of get quickly into your background before we move forward. How's that?
Sounds great. Sounds fantastic. As Matt said, hi, I'm Jessica David. I'm currently recruiting. I do recruiting events. I'm an SDE Blitz specialist with Amazon, and I do coordination for hiring events for Amazon all across the country. I really enjoy what I do, and I can't wait to dive into that and how I got there.
So, Jessica, first of all, I've heard of Amazon, and some of those people that might watch this may have heard of them. I don't know, but we were talking before we went live. Is your background, and I'm personally curious because I want to learn about it myself. You said earlier before we clicked record that you've been doing this since your college days. So, just kind of share a quick sketch as to what's brought you to Amazon. What kind of led you? What was your career evolution or arc like?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sure that story could be
all right, 2 minutes, ready, go.
I know. Oh my gosh. But no, actually I went to IPFW, which is now PFW, Purdue, Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I went there and I specialized in organizational leadership and supervision. I always had a knack for business, but I'm very, I knew that I was passionate about the people within business. So HR was kind of my drawing and has continued to be, and I love it and I don't regret it one bit. So while I was in school, I had an on-campus job working at the Career Center at IPFW, and that looked like working with students to help them get ready for careers. So it was literally perfect for where I ended up going, but that looked like helping with resume reviews, doing mock interviews, helping them, practice their interviewing skills, and then working with students on taking, kind of like online test or our free test to kind of know what direction they wanted to go in. So that's what I did in college. And that helped me perfectly. I just knew that, and that reinforced my interviewing skills and my resume writing by helping others. So then I decided to move out to Seattle, Washington after I graduated. And I just went to a career fair. I had no job in place. Everybody kept seeing my Indiana address and not really wanting someone more local before they interviewed. So I went to a local job fair and I saw a staffing firm, Apple One is what it's called. And that's also across the country. And I became a recruiter. They loved my background at college, seeing that I helped resumes and helped with interviewing and whatnot. So I just continued that, except instead of helping students, I now helped people that needed to move jobs or help to get a job in the real world now. And that was just phenomenal. I placed everyone from temporary workers all the way up to, permanent placements at companies, everyone from mom and pop shops to bigger companies in the area like Amazon, Apple, Google needed our help with staffing if their own recruiting team wasn't really pulling in the right talent or they needed assistance. Microsoft, I helped staff for. So lots of cool experience there. It was definitely a grind though. It was definitely way past 9-to-5 roles. So from there, I went into a hiring manager position at Booking.com, who's under Priceline. If they're not familiar, enjoyed working. I worked the call center there and I managed a team of about 20. So it went from helping students get ready for their careers to helping, young adults, whoever needed to make career moves or get jobs, to now helping people within a company help them move up or help them work on their internal resumes and their interviewing to get to the next level. So I've just been passionate about it. And then Amazon actually had a call for me a couple of years after that. And I just signed up for that. And so now I do recruiting events and help bring in top talent from all over the country to be software development engineers.
Nice. So
Did you
that's
get
a
all
great
of that?
background, and you summarized that beautifully. Thank you. There's a lot of things that I want to kind of get into there, but I want to
Yeah.
focus as I was listening to you on actually the student piece. You being
Yeah.
one yourself, and kind of how you were learning some skills that obviously would benefit you down the road. But what this is about is how we can maybe help guide some of today's college students in recent grads. So I think you probably got some good insight that, depending on what you're willing to share, of course, to get that. So there's, look, it's a very unique time for college students and recent grads, the market being what it is. There's got to be ways to differentiate, to rise above the clutter or the noise, however you want to phrase that.
Yes.
Let me start with just one question that always, I think, is a kind of a sticking point for a lot of emerging adults. Let's just, whether you have direct experience with this, someone who's trying to get on your radar. And right now they've got, text, email, don't know how many people actually phone call you, but persistence versus pest, and someone's just trying to get on your radar. Do you have a particular guideline? It's just yours. It's your own opinion. How do you balance that? Someone's being really persistent and you're okay with that, or someone's being a pest? Quick thoughts.
No, I love that. I've reviewed hundreds of resumes and worked with hundreds of job seekers and whatnot, students, and then as well as normal job seekers. And working with our staffing firm, we actually had a set kind of actually how to look at this. Persistence looks like, hey, when I tell you to follow up with me, when I say, please call me back on Monday, let's talk. That means call me back on Monday. If you call before then, that would kind of look a little desperate, and also you're not following instruction. So that would be kind of one way to do it. Now, if the hiring professional doesn't give you some kind of date to check back in with them, usually about 3 to 4 business days is pretty acceptable. Once you just basically look at it like you're giving them enough time to review something within their business week. And actually also being aware of what's going on in the industry that you're applying to. If you're researched enough to know that maybe the company you're trying to hire into is having a really busy week, maybe it's coming up for a big holiday season. If you're trying to get in retail, maybe that's not the time to really want to be a little intense when you want to follow up. So just be cognizant of how your business is doing and what maybe your hiring manager, what their schedule looks like. And just check in by email is always so polite. Get to the point, say, hey, I hope you've had a chance. If not, I'm willing to give you any further supporting documentation if you need it. Here's my number. I would love to speak with you. And also saying, I will follow up with you, and give it yourself a follow-up time and date. Then you're not pestering because you're following your own schedule. So those are a couple of tips that I have.
Yeah, no, those are great because I think that's a real sticky point for a lot of young emerging, candidates in the workforce of if they haven't been given direction, what's too much, what's too little. They want to try to get on someone's radar initially.
Yeah.
Now, the follow-up to that is someone's trying to get on someone's radar, trying to create some awareness for themselves that will hopefully lead to a phone call or a Zoom chat, or when we can get back and meet face to face. I'd like to ask you this question, whether you have one example or more, I'll let you decide. But because there's so much competition out there now, more than ever, for today's, young adults, what have you seen in terms of how someone has really kind of created a brand or maybe differentiated themselves, which has captured your attention, whether that's an email, a US letter, they've sent you, whatever it might be? What can you share with people that would kind of maybe help them say, look, without getting too cute and getting over the line, but that's created a true differentiator to get on your radar? Anything that popped into your head?
Yes, actually, and it might be a little odd, but I'll start off with one no actually that may seem like a differentiator, but it's actually not good. Would be I've seen resumes where people have included photos of themselves at the top, kind of like almost like a what are those photo shoot type? I mean, really professional, almost like a LinkedIn picture. However, you don't want to do that these days because you don't want to be discriminated against. Whether it be of color or female, male, whatever it is, just don't do that. So people have thought that makes it, the more special they make a resume appear with like graphics or pictures, but that's actually not the case. When in reviewing resumes, what stands out to me is when your background or your skills, like, it's super clear and it actually matches the job description. I know that this might be a normal or this might be a repeated piece of advice, but it stands very true against the test of time. the more aligned you are on paper, it's almost like, okay, here's my job description as a hiring manager. I'm going through resumes. They're coming in like crazy, or either my own resourcing on my own, company website, or I'm looking on, the different websites where people can upload your resumes and whatnot. As soon as I see things that are bullet points that are matching what I know that I'm looking for, or what I see in my job description. So when you phrase match like that, of course, being honest, that you can, that's really what's going to do it. And even just a short blurb at the top, a lot of people use that to really talk about what they are looking for. They'll make it kind of wordy, but really you want to look at that like your quick billboard. That is your quick billboard moment, a summary or whatnot, to say why you fit the job description or why you are the best candidate for the job. So when you have those two pieces together, fantastic. And the top piece of advice, of course, and it's kind of hard in the world we live in today, the pandemic world, would be to get in front of your hiring person and as soon as you can, and present yourself, of course, professionally. When you represent yourself well like that, that's really the best representation of yourself and to get in the door that you can do.
Let me back up for a minute, and I appreciate that, because that's all helpful. Now let's just take that example or that scenario where someone just hasn't even sent their resume yet. They're just trying to capture your attention, typically by an email right now. I always suggest, hey, nothing wrong with sending a US letter. That's kind of refreshing to some people, just depends. Email, subject line, something that's going to pop. Does that capture your attention? Does the email, is there an example of how someone is just initially got your attention via email? They haven't had the opportunity, they haven't been asked to submit a resume or send anything yet, but they're just trying to network with you, get a phone call, get on your radar as a potential candidate. Anything along those lines where someone is starting, again, just completely cold, trying to reach you?
Okay. Ooh, cold reaches. I've seen enough of those too, and I've done them myself.
It's hard, but it's a requirement in a lot of cases.
It is. I always recommend, and what's capturing my attention is, again, to the point. Lots of feathery stuff I see all the time. Oh, how are you? I hope you've been well in this all kinds of introductions. And I get it to be nice, but I have a typical person spends about 8 to 12 seconds browsing a resume before they pass it through. And I would like to maybe say that too, when you're looking at emails that you even start to perceive is going to be asking for a job. So subject line would be like, maybe say the job, not description, but say the name of the job and interested candidate. And I know that that's whatever, but I would automatically be like, oh, okay, here's somebody for this. So I don't even need to know what they're writing to me for. Always attach your resume. I don't care if someone asked for it or not, because then I can just click on it and browse it at my leisure before I've even said anything, save a conversation or be able to reach out to you. And then in your body of your email, just say, hey, I've seen this job. I saw this job posting. You want to always, in order to not look like you're just applying to all these different types of jobs and you're just desperate, you really want to make sure you do your research and speak about why not only this company you'd like to work for, why this is a fit, why you'd be a fit for them, but then also what skills you can bring to the table. A huge piece of advice that I have and has always stood the test of time and has made a difference in hire versus a not hire has been the mindset most people look for or say, what can this company do for me? Or here's what I'm looking for, and this job fits me. But remember, as humans, we're kind of selfish and we think about our own priorities. So as a hiring manager, my concern is filling an empty spot. My concern is getting the best person for the job and making sure it's a fit and that it'll work. Like, I've been searching, or I just opened up the job description or the job posting, whatever the case is, I'm looking for what's best for me, my team, and my company. And I'm held to standards. So when an applicant can come in and say, hey, I know what you're looking for. I can help make a difference. I can ease your pain points. Here's my skills. This is how I can help you. When they come at it from and try to think through your eyes as the hiring professional, it makes a wild a difference.
I remember hearing years ago, and maybe this will resonate with you. There's two types of people in the world: people that will create a problem, someone that will solve a problem.
Yep.
Which one do you want to be?
Be a problem.
There's a lot in all of these answers, Jessica, and I appreciate it. These are great nuggets, and I'm hopeful that today's students can really listen and pay attention to what you're saying. There's something that I picked up specifically as I do my best to listen to people that come on. I want to just talk briefly about resumes, LinkedIn profiles, the digital persona, because that's really how do I say this nicely? That's kind of the only way right now until there are some people, there's a way to meet.
Yes.
But is it on it's kind of under the guise of red flag or no red flag for you personally? When someone's digital profile doesn't match, when you actually get that person on the call and they somehow it just doesn't sound right to you, what do you do with that?
Well, I would ask a follow-up question. What do you mean by which part wouldn't match up? Like maybe they missed a job, like listing a job, or what information they have listed is off, or years or dates are off. Like which part? Because that makes it different.
No, thank you for the pushback. Because you know what, I didn't articulate that question very well. Someone's got a really good LinkedIn profile, or what appears to you as a LinkedIn profile that catches your eye. The resume is the same because it will probably be pretty similar to the LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
But they're just the inability to articulate when when they have the chance to verbalize, to talk with you live, whether it's over Zoom, FaceTime, what have you. Do you personally say, hey, that's a disconnect, or do you sift through it further if the person might have been nervous? A lot of people have a quick trigger of if their digital profile and their in-person modality, if you will, doesn't match. What's your personal take on that, if that helps with the question?
That's a really good question. Thank you so much for clarifying as well. I'm a very big believer in coaching. And as a human being who's been nervous for job interviews and being in front of people, even though I am extroverted and I love talking.
I would have never guessed that.
I mean, listen, but you get nervous, especially if it's maybe a dream job or someone's not the friendliest in how they present themselves to you. And so now you weren't going to be nervous, but now suddenly you are, just because they didn't extend a warm hand. No, it's happened to all of us. So I always, if the information is accurate and correct, and I believe I'm speaking to the right person, even as a hiring professional, I've always been able to coach or talk with the person like, hey, and I don't sugarcoat it either. If they came to me nervous, or they, especially in the staffing world, when I was a recruiter, just placing people in companies around the Seattle area, not just working in one company. They'd come in. Some people would come in chewing gum, some, drinking their coffees. They came in with jeans and a shirt, even though they're presenting themselves to me as the recruiter. And then I help represent them to the different hiring managers. But I still have to, at some point, if the hiring manager of the different companies want to see them, like they accept and they believe me that I have a great person, I still have to send this individual to represent themselves to that company. So I will always take them aside. And if I believe in them, right, if they are the person for the job, I always believe you can coach. Hey, when you go to this, don't chew gum. Hey, speak up a little bit. Hey, look directly in the eyes and ask questions about the hiring manager. Again, don't make it about you and why you need this job, or, why are you the best fit for this job? What can you bring to the table? So sometimes you can also steer the nervousness away, or how they represent themselves, by giving them set questions or set bullet points to focus on in their interviews. And then by putting the spotlight on the hiring professional and getting them to talk. And then, I always advise the candidate to say, oh, well, thank you so much for sharing, the skills needed for this job. Actually, I have this, this, and this. So by asking the right questions, you can respond with the right answers. So anyway, nervousness is a thing. Now, if they really represent themselves not well, I can tell where the line is of what I can work with and what I can't work with. So that's something that I've just been able to hone in on these last years. But
gotcha. I appreciate you giving me your quick take on that, because personal branding right now is it's always been important. There's no doubt. I think it's important now more than ever. Everything is electronic, and you want to get to this. And when I'm saying this, you want to get to a Zoom. You want to get to seeing someone's face, to see what they look like, how they sound, how can they back up, substantiate their resume when they have the chance to talk with you or the hiring manager. So is there any example or two that you can share quickly, if you don't mind, how someone has branded themselves in a really, really good way? And maybe it's okay to say, look, here's a couple examples of how not to do that. Because again, the spirit of the question is they're trying to capture your attention. They're trying to get on your radar. There's clever ways. There's too cute. There's, hey, this is right within your zone. But I appreciate whatever your personal opinion is on a good way that students can brand themselves to capture your attention.
A good way. Okay, we'll do good way. And then if you want a bad way, I definitely have examples.
Well, I don't mean it in a negative sense, meaning something that just didn't work, because look, some people learn by process of elimination. That's not a good thing. So, but let's focus on the positive. I think you're right. Let's focus on that.
Fantastic. Good ways would be, a great LinkedIn profile. I've never hesitated to look at someone's LinkedIn as soon as I see a resume. I want to see how they represent themselves online, and even having one is already a good first step. I tell people all the time, my friends or anybody looking for a job, they'll hit me up for advice. Always please have a LinkedIn. Make sure it's up to date, it's accurate. You're representing yourself well on there. Have a great professional photo too. Sadly, I've seen some weird, what would be maybe acceptable as Facebook profile pictures, but even then that's questionable. Have a good professional photo that represents yourself wear business casual, business professional in your photo, all of the above. And also use LinkedIn's features. LinkedIn is a beautiful free resource without you even having to pay for premium. So, do the switch where it shows that you're open for positions so that recruiters know to get a hold of you. And I have no problem with friending, go connect with people that work within the company. They don't have to be the hiring professional themselves or the hiring manager, but connect with just employees that work there. Maybe ask them for a couple minutes of their time and do almost like a virtual coffee chat where you can ask them information, what it's like to work there, what's the culture like. That way you're preparing for now what would be a really cool conversation where you're coming prepared when you finally do get that opportunity. But represent yourself well on LinkedIn. And I also say all over social media, some people aren't good at putting things private or not public. So if I did look around and could find you on Facebook, or I could Google your name, make sure you're cleaned up all over the web.
You must have read my mind on that, because that was my next quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Do you look? Are those red flags? Is it true that maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 recruiters or hiring managers look at some before there's an offer made? Obviously, do they look at someone's social media background? And
yes.
I'm going to assume that they do.
Yes, if it's public or if it's able to be seen, 100%. 100%. Because what you spoke on earlier is we are in a tight job market right now. So hiring managers and companies aren't wanting to take risks on, we're wanting to make strategic hires. And if it's really easy to just basically get more of what we call a free background check, sure. Information, and information's available everywhere. Yeah, why wouldn't we? You know what I mean? If it's really easy just to Facebook somebody, if they have that available, and we see them in a party picture with lots of whatever that would maybe not go with the image of what you're trying to present elsewhere, then that's definitely worth a check over.
Clean it up. That's the best way that you phrased it. Just clean it up. I saved my toughest question for last, and I know it's a hard one because it's just such an open-ended, oh, really, Matt? You just asked me this? But is there maybe 1 or 2 pieces of advice that maybe either you were given, and if it's something that you weren't given, but something that you have just inherently learned yourself, that you would share to today's candidates as it relates to how important it is to communicate? Any bits of advice that you could share that's maybe just kind of stood the test of time?
Oh, yes. Maybe the top 2 pieces of advice. Let's just go with that.
Sure.
Coming out of college, I had never even heard of staffing companies, really. I didn't. Now I'm so aware of them, it's not even funny, but 100%, if you're on the job search, please, please, please join as many of your local staffing firms as you can. We are literally, I say we, I'm not in this job any longer, but as in recruiting, we are literally paid to look for candidates and get the best, talent, and to work with as many people as we can. So staffing firms, like, any of them that you can find, just Google it, look who's local, and tell them exactly what you're looking for, but be open. Be open. Don't just be so honed in on, well, I need to make this exact amount of money a year. I'll only look at this in this position. Be open. If you get your foot in the door, let's say it's maybe not the position you were looking for, but you get there's an open, maybe temporary position in the company that you want to work for, though, you're literally going to be doing a working interview then while you're even there, just for like a temp job. So not only work with staffing firms, but kind of part B of this first piece of advice would be open to temporary positions. Temp to hire is the second kind. And then, of course, the ultimate goal is a permanent position with benefits and whatnot. But get your foot in the door, especially in a market that's tight and that's hard to get into. And you'll get at least an income going, is even if it's not maybe the job you want. So anyway, work with your local staffing firms, look them up, get involved with as many as you can. And then they have really great relationships with local companies and big companies like I worked with in Seattle. And then number 2 would be how you represent yourself, which is what we spent a lot of this interview talking about. Right. Your resume, have someone review it. Stick to main. A big part of that is your resume needs to literally fit and say that you are the person that would fit that job. So yes, I know it's annoying, but tailor it to each job that you're trying to apply for. Each bullet point, here's the biggest piece of advice that I was given and that has worked so beautifully. Each bullet point is not just for you under a job. Let's say, I worked at McDonald's, each bullet point, don't make it to where everybody at that job could just fill in that same bullet point, i.e. worked cash register, served customers, flipped burgers. Like none of those things, each of those 3 bullet points would help you stand out from anyone else from McDonald's trying to apply to whatever it is, right? So you want to say, how did you make an impact? How did you stand out? Put numbers on things, served between 50 to 100 customers per hour. That now is showing me there's a difference between served customers to putting a number on it like that, because now I'm seeing, okay, well, now they can work fast, or wow, they can process a lot. That gave me way more information than just the first one, right? If you're a manager, I watched, or I took care of I did the deposits, and we did deposits between $3,000 and $10,000 per day, things like that. When you can give numbers and when you can give data to each and every bullet point that you can think of and that is applicable, please do. That'll make a huge world of difference.
Jessica, I have a feeling I kind of gave you a little white lie. I have one other question.
Please.
Sorry, but as I listened to you, there was something else that just kind of popped up, and I think it might be a little relevant. So, okay, what's your personal take, your personal reaction? Because you mentioned, hey, look, be open. Be open to part-time, to temp to hire. Just get your foot in the door. Which kind of got my brain went, and I hear this a lot as I coach people one-on-one myself. Yeah, I would go to that company. I would do whatever it takes. I'll just do anything.
Yep.
What's your take when you hear someone say that?
When they would do anything? I'm sorry, repeat.
Look, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll take any role, meaning they're not specific they just want to get in. They want to get their foot in. Do you have a personal reaction to that when someone makes that comment to you?
I love it. That is, oh my goodness. If that's a blessing to any recruiter's ears, I can't even tell you. That shows me, yes, it's just a willingness and openness that opens so many more doors than if you would have been limited to what specifically you were looking for. And with that, it also is a willingness to work, right? You're not scared of taking on a challenge or getting in and how you need to. You're humble. That shows a humility as well. So I will go to bat, and any recruiter would go to bat 10 times more for a candidate that is open, willing, works with you. If you say, hey, please call me again on Monday and I'll see what jobs I can get for you, and they call back on Monday, like, it's just okay. Now you're ready to play ball. So I can place that 10 times better than anything specific. And also know your industry, know your value. We all feel like we're priceless and we're worth so much, but be humble and fresh out of college, you need to be okay with starting kind of at a lower point and working your way up. Now, that's not to say, look at the industry, look what's going on. Staffing firms can also help tell you what local companies are paying for what positions. They do that research for you. Great resource. So do your research. Don't take less than what you should, but I'm just saying that openness and that willingness, and just know that you're starting fresh, have that humility going in, and you'll get so much farther in any company.
I appreciate it. And that is the only other question. There are so many more questions I could have. I think we need to do this again somewhere down the road, but Jessica, David, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing what I personally know is really good insight. I am hopeful that the college students and recent grads will pay attention to this once we put it out there, but we look forward to staying in touch. Maybe we can do this again somewhere down the road. But again, Jessica, David, is there anything that you would like to promote? Maybe it's a personal blog, a website. If there's anything you would like to do to put out as a little commercial, please feel free. If not, that's okay too. But I always ask every guest, if there's something that you would like to promote, please go ahead.
That's really, really cool. Well, as 2021 kicks off, I don't have anything personal, I guess, but to promote peace and love, something needs to change for this year. And I'm hoping.
Hey, we'll take peace and love any day of the week. But no, if there was like a blog or a website, or maybe there's a careers website, I don't know. I mean, people know how to get to your company, but if there's anything else, I just want to make sure you have the shot to plug it. That's all.
No, I thank you. I know I'm half joking with my with my world peace comment.
I'm not. Peace and love is good.
No, it really is. But when it comes to career things, like I said, I currently work at Amazon. I put on hiring events. So as one last piece of advice and / a plug would be, Amazon and our fellow tech companies, we represent ourselves regularly at local college career fairs. And now it's virtual, but I've seen and already been a part of multiple virtual career fairs. So it's not like they've stopped. The hiring for me personally has continued and actually has gained. As you know, everybody's been online shopping. So I've been busy. But anyway, please go ahead and as a student and as a job seeker, please seek out every single opportunity. Connect with us at Amazon. Our hiring website is very easy to connect with, and and try to see if you can connect with the hiring person. But just don't ever, just like how I had to do, even though I had the skills from college because I helped and started already in the HR field, but I had to put myself out there and I had to make sure I got it in front of, virtually or not, as many people as possible and got myself out there. So don't hesitate to do that. And Amazon, we're always hiring, especially now during the pandemic. So come with it.
There was peace and love and a plug all at once. Well done. Anyway, Jessica David, thanks again for taking the time. And we look forward to doing this again somewhere down the road. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much.
You bet.